Alright, this is John Colo with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from the Las Vegas Valley here. And why I'm here today is to show you guys how you can grow food in Las Vegas or any desert actually that you live in. And so what you're looking at behind me is a standard house in Las Vegas. We're in a standard residential lot. You know, these lots are about 6,000 square feet, and even in a 6,000 square feet lot, which many of you guys may live in a lot of similar size, you can grow a substantial amount, if not all of your own food that you need to eat if done appropriately. And I want you guys to, have your own food security and not be dependent on the ship to come in or trucks to transport the food or you to have to go to the grocery store. And the gardener here, told me about that Las Vegas is an island. I'm like, what? Las Vegas is an island? We're in the middle of the continental United States. Well, think about it. If I-15, which is the major freeway that runs into Las Vegas, which transports everything into Las Vegas, the food, the furniture, everything that's sold at the stores is transported in on semi-trucks. If that freeway got shut off, right, Las Vegas is an island, I mean, is Las Vegas sustainable, and does it produce enough food for all its residents? Absolutely not. Do even 1/10 of 1% of the people in Las Vegas grow enough food to eat? I mean, I could probably live off my garden for a good period of time, but I don't know too many other people that can. And that's one of the motivations that actually the gardener here, and the reasons why they're actually growing food in a very unique and different way, which is, I think, a really ideal and good solution for people growing in Las Vegas or other deserts or other islands. Because if Las Vegas once again gets cut off, it's an island. It's no different than being in the Virgin Islands or being in Hawaii when the boats stop coming in. And I want you guys, no matter where you live, to be more sustainable. Does that mean you have to grow all your food tomorrow? No. It means I want you guys to start small. By the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. Start growing with one raised bed if you don't have anything growing. If you don't have a system like we're going to talk about today, set up a small system to experiment to see how it works and learn as you grow. The gardener here basically has been doing this system of gardening for the last 3 years, and he's been learning as he grows and improving his system. And now he's taken it to a point where he feels, that he's at a good point, and he's willing to share it with me. And now I could share it with you guys, this special growing technique that saves water in this, day and age of droughts and, watering restrictions. This method of growing saves the most water over standard raised beds gardens. So anyways, without further ado, let's go head over to the gardener's home and check out what he's got growing on. All right, so now I'm in the front yard, and I'm going to share with you guys how the gardener's growing. It's right here. He's got raised beds in his front yard. Behind his raised beds, you can see the neighbor's front yard with basically just rocks, which is basically, looks kind of cool, but it's not functional, because what if you could use the space that you had on your property, whether you own or rent, to grow your own food? Then you could go to the grocery store less, buy less food. And one of my main messages to you guys is that I want you guys to start growing your own food, take some responsibility for yourself, more importantly, have some food security, and in my opinion, most importantly, have the highest quality food available. Industry and agriculture industry is not growing food to grow the highest quality or grow the best tasting food. They're growing specifically for the moolah, the money, right? And when money gets involved in the industries and government, I think things get really whacked out, and things, aren't being done in favor of the consumer, of the person. Any case, so what he's done here, he has some raised beds in the front yard, and they're growing actually quite well. He's got some peppers here, he's got some carrots, he's got some collard greens and some cabbages growing, all in raised beds. Now, while I am growing in raised beds in Las Vegas and being quite successful at it, and while he's doing that here and being quite successful at it, he also has, over a half dozen raised beds in the backyard that's a little bit more shaded out, that's also growing well. He figured this, okay, in the desert, right, which we're at, the ground is literally sand. This is sand. There's not a lot of organic matter. There's a lot of minerals in the sand, but there's not a lot of organic matter, and organic matter is needed to basically have plants thrive, because the whole nature system needs the minerals and the bacteria, water holding capability, all this kind of stuff for the vegetables we like to eat to grow. So instead of having to keep importing soil to grow in Las Vegas, because you have to enrich the soil here to grow it, you know, primarily with compost, and I brought in yards and yards of compost to grow in my system, he figured he didn't want to do that. He wanted to use a local resource that's much more available and actually directly piped into his home as the growing medium. So anyways, to show you this system, let's go ahead and head into the backyard and let you guys know a system that you could use virtually anywhere to start growing your own food and even some fish today. Alright, so now we're at the backyard gate, and before I go into the backyard, I do want to let you guys know, before you start a front yard garden here in the Las Vegas Valley, you want to make sure that it's alright with the city and also the homeowners association if you have one in your neighborhood. Many places it's actually outlawed to grow vegetables in your front yard, and if it is, I definitely would encourage you guys to plant other edibles that are not recognized as vegetables. There are plenty of local, edible, native crops that you can plant in your front yard that you could still eat even if it is not considered a normal vegetable. You can also plant many different fruit trees and fruit producing shrubs, you know, even if you're not able to grow the specific vegetables that you guys know and love. And I want to always encourage you guys to increase your diversity of foods that you eat. You know, one of the coolest things you grow in Las Vegas is the mesquite tree. The mesquite pods are really nutritious food to eat. I mean, that's what the Native Americans who lived here ate before, you know, the white man came. And they grow quite well, especially in the weather. And one of the coolest things about the mesquite is you could take the pods and they're basically pre-dried. You grind them up into a powder, you could have flour, you could do all kinds of baking, eat it raw, all kinds of cool stuff. And that stuff stores during the winter, so you could grow that, have your stores of mesquite to eat. You could also grow things like pinion nuts. You could also grow things like the pistachio nuts that I like so much. I mean, there's so many different foods you could grow, even if you can't grow vegetables, right? I'm personally, one of these days, going to start growing some date palms, which are used as ornamentals all over the valley, as well as jujube, or Chinese date fruits, which are another fruit that tastes excellent when they're fresh, kind of like an apple, but even better when they're dried to perfection. It kind of reminds me of tasting like an angel food cake. It's nice and spongy, a little bit sweet with good flavor, and in Chinese medicine, the jujube is a very healing and powerful food. In any case, with that, let's go ahead and share with you guys how this gardener is growing his vegetables here in Las Vegas. So yeah, back gate, and he's putting this in the backyard. So I always recommend, you know, growing in the sunniest spot possible. That's one of the things he learned. Now the front yard has the most sun, but he's put this in the alley instead of the backyard because the alley gets more sun than the backyard. And once again, plants like us love the sun. So check it out. As you guys can see here, we got an amazing aquaponic system. And the coolest thing about this aquaponic system is that this aquaponic system is 99.9% made out of parts available locally. You know, he picked up all these different, you know, parts, pumps, and all this stuff at places like Lowe's, Home Depot, and Harbor Freight. So he didn't have to order hardly anything to make this system work. And you know, and he's not even using any kind of IBC totes or anything like that. It's actually mostly made out of plywood, which is totally amazing. It's blowing my mind. So anyways, let's go back there and show you guys his aquaponics system and how he's done it. So now what we're looking at is the aquaponics system, or actually half of the aquaponics system, because the aquaponics system is more than just the plants. We're looking at the plant half. There's also a fish half, because the fish is basically what makes the fertilizer for the plants. Now whether you're, you know, having your own garden, most people put manure into their garden, and it's the animal manure that many people believe is the fertility to their garden. And yes, I believe animal manure can be a part of a fertility program, but in the aquaponics system, pretty much the fish are providing the fertility. Not only the fish poop, but also the fish pee, and that basically feeds the plants indirectly. And some of the plants we got growing right here are these guys. These guys are the snow peas. Wow, nice and tasty, nice and delicious. These were recently planted. They do not like the full heat of the Las Vegas summers that reaches regularly over 100 degrees. So these were recently planted, so they're a bit smaller. But behind me, as you guys can see, we have some bean plants. And these bean plants are huge. There's like, if we just look in here, there's all kinds of beans happening. And these have just trellised up on this little like wire basically hoop here to take all over. And here's just one of these guys. Man, that's actually a good green bean. Now, I want to let you guys know every different growing style, whether you're growing in raised beds or whether you're growing in aquaponics, right? You're basically providing different climatic conditions for the plants. And under different climatic conditions, plants will grow better, worse, or maybe the same. And one of the things I really couldn't grow for the life of me this year in my garden were the green beans. Now the Asian long beans do pretty well in the heat, but the green beans don't do well. So I guess if I want to grow green beans, I'm going to definitely use an aquaponic system, because by the looks of it, he's done quite well with it. And now why would that be? Well, the water, you know, is keeping the green beans cooler than having them in the soil. And so that's, I believe, one of the reasons why the green beans have worked so well in this system and not so well in the garden, because with the water keeps things a little bit cooler, and the plants have access to the water to transpire and keep themselves cooler. You know, much like if in the hot summer in Las Vegas we become dehydrated fast, we need to drink a lot of water to cool us down. Well, the plants also need the water, and one of the biggest challenges I see with gardeners in the desert, they just tend to underwater and not water enough so that their plants dry out too quickly. And you know, much like us, we need water to survive, and so do our plants. Anyways, besides the water and the nutrients in the plants, let's go ahead and show you guys some of the other parts of this aquaponic system. So in this part of the aquaponic system, what we have is some lettuce that was just planted. I always want to encourage you guys to plant foods of color. You know, don't just plant the green lettuce. Plant some beautiful red lettuces. I mean, they look ornamental, will dress up a nice salad, and hey, they even look a little bit festive, you know, for the holidays, Christmas, and all this stuff coming up real soon. Now, we are getting into the winter in Las Vegas, and soon enough, you know, there'll be the freezing temperatures, so the beans will get pulled out, and the crops will be transitioned over into leafy greens. You know, one of the things I've seen done really well under aquaponics is things like bok choy and some of the mustard family plants. But of course, the lettuce is a good one that works as well. I'm going to go ahead and lift up this raft here, and these rafts are nothing more than basically this styrofoam that is normally sold for insulation at your local big box store. And as you guys can see, I mean, look at this. This is incredible. We got some standard net pots here that's available at a hydroponics store. We got a nice little lettuce. And look at that root mass on that, man. That's like, man, over 12 inches long. And just some little volcanic rock there holding the roots down. I mean, this is some definitely healthy looking rootage on the lettuce here. And you know, so I mean, the common person might think that it's really easy to do aquaponics because the fish poop feeds the plants, but if you look down in this water, I'm not seeing any fish poop floating around or anything. Actually, the water's quite clear. And you know, it's because the fish poop actually doesn't feed the plants directly. It needs to go through a secondary process, and there's some other creatures or living organisms in this system besides just the fish and just the plants, and this is something that many people sometimes miss. Now, besides these other creatures that we'll cover in a second, you know, another thing they're doing, you know, in this area alone, which is new, is they're actually oxygenating the water with an air stone. And this has caused a massive increase in growth of the roots and also the plants. So I want to encourage you guys, if you do have an aquaponic system, is to aerate your water, which will aerate the root zone. I mean, after all, there's a whole another way of growing food. It's actually called aeroponics, where they literally grow with oxygen. And so I always believe, you know, adding oxygen is probably a good thing for your plants. Let's go ahead and lower this guy down. Oh, and one of the things on this styrofoam stuff, very important, this stuff will break down with the sun. The UV will break this stuff down into powdered, flake it off, turn it into a powder. It'll get in your system, really mess it up. So they've actually used a latex paint to protect the styrofoam from breaking down the UV. So yeah, he has painted that. Super important and super critical. I guess next let's go ahead and look at the fish and look at that other creature that I talked to you about that breaks down the fish poop and pee into nutrients for the plants. All right, so what we're looking at now is another very important component of the aquaponics system. It's the fish, of course. So in here, actually, he has some koi and goldfish, you know, and the main reason for aquaponics is because you can not only grow your own vegetables, which are actually high in protein, higher than fish in protein, if you believe that or not, by calorie, but you could grow your own fish for food or for pets or for whatever you want to do with them. And he has probably about 50 to 60 different fish in here, and I got the lucky job today of feeding them, so we're gonna go ahead and dinner time fishies. All right, so they're not coming up today. It might be a little bit cold for them. Oh, the water's a bit cold. It's been the nights have been getting down into, like, I don't know, the 40s and stuff, so getting cold here, although we haven't got no frost yet, so that's a good thing. But yeah, he's got all the water in here, and this is quite a bit cold. But besides just the fish, which is pretty cool, right? The coolest thing about this, basically, fish tank is what it's made out of. I mean, you guys can see it's kind of like black or something, and I've seen, you know, a lot of fish tanks made out of plastic, and people buy Rubbermaid, you know, containers, and they use IBC totes, but he's done nothing like that. Actually, I'd probably personally use an IBC tote. He's actually constructed this out of wood, and I'm like, wait a second. Some wood, literally some plywood from Home Depot or Lowe's, and some 2x4s is supporting the weight of all the water in here. I mean, water, what's that, like 8 pounds per gallon or something like that? That's just a lot of weight here. So let me go ahead and show you guys this construction on this. And no, he doesn't have one of those, you know, rubber pond liners or PVC pond liners in here. There's no pond liner. It's basically just the wood, although he did coat it with something that I'll share with you guys in a second. So yeah, this makes construction very easy. He basically just built it, you know, painted on. He is a paint contractor, actually. Special coating, and it holds the water, totally waterproof, no leaks whatsoever. So let me go ahead and show you guys the exposed side of this fish tank made out of some wood. So now I want to show you guys the construction of the fish tank here, and basically, as you guys can see, it's just basically 2x4s. I mean, this looks like exposed siding inside of a house. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It's a 3/4 inch plywood with the 2x4s, and that's the construction of this tank here, as well as all the troughs that hold the water, that holds the rafts, that holds the plants that you guys saw just a little bit ago. I mean, this is totally amazing, and he didn't have to buy any additional pond liner to line the bottoms. He just has a special coating that he uses that I'll share with you guys actually coming up next. You know, the next thing I want to say is that, you know, this is just a guy that just has never done aquaponics before, you know. He's learned by the school of hard knocks. He read a bunch of stuff online, studied it intently, figured out how he would do it, and he's built a system, and as he built it, he's changing it and learning, you know, how to, you know, maybe do a bit differently, how to improve it as time goes on. And, you know, I don't want you guys to wait until you think you know it all and then do the system, because guess what? That day will never come. You know, you got to jump in with a good, solid foundation, right? And you will be making adjustments as you go. Everybody does. I still make adjustments to my garden every day as I go on. As I learn more, you know, I dial it in, refine it so that I can get better production, better harvest, and more importantly, do less work. And that's a big part of the aquaponics system, right? You want to be able to do the least amount of work as possible, get the most amount of return, and after he's dialed in for a number of years, that's what he's able to literally do. You know, pretty much he has to just come out here, feed the fish every day. He checks the water once in a while, which we'll show you guys in a second, and he just comes out and has to harvest and eat the food that he's producing in his backyard here. So I guess the next thing I want to do is actually share with you guys the special coating that he uses, and it's this stuff right here. Comes in a big 5-gallon buckets, and I want to always encourage you guys to actually reuse your buckets. They're very handy around the garden. I use it to collect like compost and collect my food scraps, and you can even drill holes in these guys and use these as planters. You know, buckets are amazing, and it's sad that so many people throw them out these days. If you want a kick, man, check out my past videos. I have a video from like 4 years ago on, you know, things to do with a 5-gallon bucket in the garden. That was a quite fun video to make. Anyways, this stuff is actually called a brush grade pond coat seamless pond and plant box liner. And this is for waterproofing protection for plants or boxes. I mean, it says plants or boxes, and it's non-flammable and has no toxins, solvents, or VOCs. This is very important because if your fish are going to live in there, right, if they have any kind of toxins in there, your fish aren't going to do well. And likewise, you know, we don't want to be putting foods in our body that are contaminated with things. So I mean, this is pretty amazing. And it says the basically the contents in here and the warranty and all this stuff. It's basically by a company called Permadry, and once again it says at the bottom, non-toxic, no VOCs. Now, if I were to build a system like this, would I use this coating? Well, definitely I would consider this coating as one of my options. You know, I'd also look into the pond liners. I'm probably more looking towards using a real rubber pond liner, but those guys can get quite expensive. So this may be an option. And you know, I want to let you guys know that it may be an option for you. You know, another thing I might do is I'd just use an IBC tow, cut it down, and you don't need any kind of liner when you're using just plastic, right? The IBC totes, I would get a food grade one. It's made out of a nice hard food grade, food approved plastic. So I guess once the water, which is the carrier of the roots for the plants and also the carrier for the water, so that is his soil with quotes around it, and it's free because it's piped in to his house. Well, not quite free, he's paying for it, but it's super cheap, a lot easier than bringing in compost. He's just basically turning on his spigot, filling up his tanks here, filling up his system with all the water so that he's able to grow some food. A really big component of the system for it to work properly, besides the fish and the plants, is the filtration. I cannot stress this enough. As you guys can see, what he's using for filtration is right here. These are just Rubbermaid Brute trash cans, and these are available, you know, locally, once again, in home improvement stores. And I want to encourage you guys, get the commercial grade trash cans, man. Don't just get the cheap ones. I know you might save a couple bucks getting the cheap ones, but the cheap ones will degrade over time and not be as durable. I mean, that's why they're commercial grade. They're nice and thick, heavy duty. Normally he has the tops on them. He took the tops off for me today. And let me go ahead and share with you guys 4 different trash can filters that he's created by using just simply the trash can plus some very simple PVC piping. So as you guys can see, this is the filtration setup. There's a total of 4 of these Brute Rubbermaid garbage cans, and each one's a little bit different. You know, I wouldn't say that one is more important than the other. They are all important for the system to work properly. You know, he did originally have like 2 of these guys and it was not sufficient. So once again, learn as you grow. He got 2 more. Now if you guys are to do it, probably might want to get 4 of these guys and do a system similar to this, because you know, there's no substitute for filtration in my opinion. The first one here is basically just a swirl filter. The water enters the bottom, it swirls up to the top, it comes out this pipe, then goes into the bottom of the next garbage can filter, and it's these next 2 that are super important in my opinion. I mean, this is probably the heart of the aquaponic system, although in aquaponics it's most often talked about the fish and the plants, but this intermediary step, which is the biology to drive this whole system and to make it work properly. And what these 2 filters are, this is the basically the biology or the bacteria in the system, because it takes these bacteria that break down the fish waste and turn it into plant food. This is super important. And how he does this, number one, he has basically a fabric here, and actually this is something that's actually commonly available. Some people use like these little scrubber things. He's found to use these because once again they are locally available, and no matter where you live in the United States, if you got a Lowe's or Home Depot and some common stores, you could pick this up. And what it simply is this stuff. It's a Filtrete basic custom fit air cleaning filter, and it's very important when you choose an air cleaning filter like this or some other kind of scrubby bristle nylon brush things that you scrub your sink down and put them in your system. You want to make sure that they do not have any microbial coating. because what we're really growing in these two filters are microbes. Microbes are super important. They are what's doing the work to convert the solids from the fish into food for the plants. So that's these two next barrels here, and then now we're going to go on and share with you guys the third barrel, and this is a way he's able to basically reuse something that would normally get tossed out in his system to help get the water cleaner. So this fourth trash can literally is basically called a degasser. It basically has the clear water, and wow man, looks so different from the water in the first one. I mean, this water, I don't know that I drink from it, but it's way cleaner than the first one. And the last thing he's doing is basically a degasser. I can't really lift this up here, but if you guys could look at that, basically it's basically a net bag with a whole bunch of used bottle caps off soda pop bottles and maybe some water bottles. I don't recommend you guys drink soda pop though. Collect these from your neighbors if you're gonna do this. But this basically just creates a surface area for the bacteria and you know, helps get the water cleaner before it's pumped on to the plants. I mean, that's how this whole system works. Now, you know, aquaponics to me is like a lot more complicated on some levels than soil gardening. You know, in soil gardening, there's a lot of natural checks and balances that nature has set up. You know, it's kind of difficult to really mess up bad in soil gardening if you follow the right procedures and you're not putting chemical fertilizers where you can burn stuff. Well, likewise in an aquaponic system, right? Because you're controlling many of the environmental factors, the water, the pH, and you got to make sure you have good bacteria that are basically digesting the solids and turning, you know, all the fish waste into fertilizer. You got to check that regularly so that you could ensure your plants are going to grow and your whole system is going to work properly. So let's go over and check out commonly available water test kits so you can actually test the water in your aquaponic system to make sure you get it dialed in properly and your system's going to work like his is working here. So how I like to look at aquaponics personally is that you're kind of like playing God for the creatures in your environment, in your system. I mean, for your fish and for your plants, you are God because you're controlling the environment. I mean, in nature, I set up the soil, I put on a watering system, and pretty much I let nature figure things out. And aside from having my drip irrigation system come on, I don't really have to worry about much. But in an aquaponic system, you know, it gets a bit more technical than that, because what you're gonna have to do is something like this. What we're looking at is at a standard API freshwater master test kit. And this is available at like a Petco or one of those PetSmart places, you know, for testing the water in aquariums. And that's really what you're doing. You're testing the water in your aquaponics aquarium because you want to make sure things are dialed in properly. Because if it's not dialed in properly, guess what? You know, your plants might look all piss poor. They might be turning yellow and not doing well. They're not getting good root growth. I mean, something is missing, right? And I've seen plenty of aquaponic systems do well. And actually, this is one of the better ones I've seen. I've also seen, you know, ones that actually are not doing well and are not looking well, you know, despite the aquaponics is the future, aquaponics is the answer. Well, I think it can be part of the answer, and especially in places like Las Vegas where there's, you know, poor soil and things can be more difficult and challenging to grow. Aquaponics could be the great equalizer or great balancer that could allow more people to start growing food easier if they got trained properly and learn how to work the system here. And that's one of the amazing things is, I mean, the test kits here are super simple. You just get some water from your thing, you put a couple drops of the different test solutions, and then basically you read the little chart. There's a color-coded chart here. You know, one of the most important things in the aquaponics and also in soil gardening is your pH range. Very important to have plants in the right pH range as well as the fish. His pH here is running a little bit higher than optimal, maybe like about a 7.8. You know, I'd like it around 7.3 or something like that. But you know, it's a little bit higher, and that may be because of the water or possibly because of the coating he's using. You know, may make it a little bit higher. You know, the next few things are actually a critical component of the system that will need to get resolved properly, and without the bacteria that I showed you guys earlier where it is being cultivated in two of the filters actually, system's not going to work, and your test kit is going to tell you if your system is working or not. The first one is going to test the ammonia, and that's just one of these guys right here. And the ammonia is basically what the fish makes. It's like the fish poo and the fish pee that makes the ammonia. So you can test, okay, I got ammonia, and that's a good thing because that's the fertilizer, you know, for your plants. If you don't have enough fish, you're not going to make enough fertilizer to basically allow the amount of plants you want to live. You know, so if you have too many plants or too many fish, not going to be good. So you need to balance it out. And then the next thing besides the ammonia is you got the nitrite, and the nitrite is the next test. And basically what happens is the ammonia that your fish makes is now converted by the bacteria in one of the garbage cans into the nitrite, right? And this is an intermediary step, and you have to make sure you have some nitrite in there because it shows you that your bacteria in your system is working properly. Now, of course, the last component is also very important. It's another kind of bacteria that converts the nitrite into the nitrate that is now basically the food for the plants. It makes, I mean, the plants can't absorb the ammonia or the nitrite alone. They need to have the proper one, the nitrate, and that's where the bacteria come into play. That's why they are so important. Now, the cool thing is, you know, I mean, I've seen many different aquaponic systems where they've had to add a lot of different inputs in to the system to make it work. I mean, of course, the biggest input in aquaponic system is, of course, the fish food, which is a given. I mean, you got to feed the fish. Although there's been plenty of systems I've seen where people grow some of their own fish food depending on the kind of fish they have. Now, he brings in the fish food here, which is one input, but you know, the fish don't eat a lot of food, you know, it's relatively inexpensive. The other thing that he does need to add is right here. This is actually called the super iron chelate. So this is a water soluble iron. You know, I've always seen this as required, and it doesn't take a lot of this stuff in the system to basically get a good balanced system here. I mean, that's all he adds. And yes, his pH a little bit high. He could add something to lower it, but you know, once again, he's learning as he's growing. And if the plants and the fish appear to be healthy and growing well, I mean, why change what's growing and introducing another variable into your system, right? So I want to encourage you guys, if you do have an aquaponic system or want to have one, try to reduce the amount of variables, because the more kind of variables you make, right, the more chances of messing things up, you know. So yeah, so it's really cool that he's been able to do this system by just adding the fish food and the iron chelate, and I mean, it looks like amazing to me. So the next thing I want to do is I want to sit down with Scott, the farmer here that's growing the fish and the plants, and we're going to sit down and ask him some questions about aquaponics and why he started to grow his food here in his backyard in the middle of the desert. So now we're here with Scott Coggins of Coggins Gardens, and he's the gentleman that is growing all this food and has created with his own two hands what I showed you guys today in this episode. It's super uber cool, you know, that he's doing this. So Scott, I want to thank you for having me over.
Thanks, John.
First off, and the next thing I want to ask you is, why did you decide to do aquaponics here in the desert, you know?
Well, sitting in a class one day, I heard about, saw an aquaponic system in Africa, quarter-acre feeding 10,000 people, and food security is important to me, and I feel that everyone should have some ownership of their food. So I came home and had this wacko idea. I talked my wife into let me build this back here. She thinks I'm crazy, but it's 2 years into it, and we're starting to harvest some food, and things are starting to move forward. It's been very exciting so far.
Wow, so, you know, I know you have some previous experience with gardening in southern Nevada, so you're not new to gardening, but you're new to aquaponics. So tell me a little bit about that and the relationship.
So I consider myself a third-generation gardener in southern Nevada. My grandparents had vegetable gardens. I remember when I was a kid in the late 70s or early 70s, late 60s, and then my father also, he grew better tomatoes than I've ever grown in my life out here. And then I've been on this property for 20 years, a little 6,000 square foot lot, and we started gardening. I took some trees down, and we got some raised beds around here. But aquaponics is, you know, I'm growing stuff on concrete. If you look at the ground here, we're on concrete. There's no dirt. So the fact that we can grow vegetables on concrete. There's just so many opportunities with all the foreclosed homes and whatever we got out here. There's a lot of places to grow vegetables and protein and fish at the same time. It's just, it is the wave of the future as I see it.
Wow. So why specifically aquaponics, you know, instead of the in-ground growing like I grow?
Well, I actually do both. I built this to prove the system to myself that it works, and I've done that. Now what's the next step? Well, we've got some exciting ideas that maybe you'd be the crazy guy that's growing food on his roof maybe in the spring. We don't know these things yet, but we got other things we're going to try and do. The fact of the matter is that you can take fish and you can build yourself a wacko system out of wood and some paint, and you know, grow fish and grow produce at the same time. Now, with that being said, it gives you yourself food security. Las Vegas is an island. Think about how we get here. There's only a few roads in this town. Earlier this summer, we had a problem. You know, I-15 got shut down. Think about your food security. You have to take some ownership of your food, because if you don't, who will?
I mean, I totally agree. You guys got to take ownership of your own food. I mean, that's why I have all these videos, over 1,000 videos now, teaching you guys all aspects. I don't just necessarily focus on aquaponics, but I'm glad when I get to come out and share people doing this to show you guys examples. I mean, this is a great example of what Scott's doing here and what you guys could do out of a Home Depot, Lowe's, and some of those stores. So, Scott, let's talk about some of the different stores you bought some of this stuff at. You know, I mean, where do you get that special paint stuff? Because I know some people out there might be thinking about that.
I believe the company's called Permadry, and they're in Southern California. You'll have to order it into Southern Nevada. It is expensive, but as opposed to, and the reason why I went the Permadry as opposed to a liner, I don't have much waste. All the waste I had was on the rollers and the brushes. I still have product that I could do other projects with instead of cutting off and trimming. That stuff is no longer usable for me. That's the reason why I went this path. Was it the correct path? Time will tell. I don't know. We don't know. I've never built one of these, and quite frankly, I don't think anybody has one like mine either. So hey, end of the day, it's mine. So
I've never seen another one like this, and I mean, for me, the proof is in the pudding. This stuff's working. Plants look great. I mean, what are some of the other stores that you used in the local area actually bought some of the stuff here?
So local merchants would be Lowe's and the Home Depot for the woods and the screws and the whatnot. We went to Harbor Freight to get the pump. We had to go to Petco to get the fish and the API testing kit. I had to order online Amazon to get the net pots, the 2-inch net pots we have. We need to have a one-stop shop. The hydroponics store, I went down there and got Seesaw for that in the early days, but they don't have the hydroponics store in Vegas. They don't have what I need. So there needs to be a one-stop shop in Las Vegas. Is it going to be somebody that we know that gets it done? I don't know, but the idea is out there. And one more thing, NRS is in 1996 has changed. You can't have an edible fish. That's why I have goldfish in my backyard. I have to research that to figure out how we can change that law. But you should be able to grow edible fish on your property. You can have chickens and rabbits. You should be able to have fish as well.
I mean, I totally agree. I think there should not be laws that restrict, you know, usage of what we want to grow if it's an edible crop. I mean, this is just completely ridiculous. It's like almost living in a police state or something.
Not even an edible that's not even illegal. Let's don't make something, a fish, illegal. We shouldn't make a fish illegal.
Totally agree. So Scott, let's talk about, you know, I know you're really into education. You want to educate some of the people out there because most people, frankly, have no clue about aquaponics. I mean, if you guys watch me, I've been to many different aquaponics grows and shared them with you. But if you're, you know, finding this video for the first time, you're from Las Vegas, live in the local area, you want to tour your garden, you guys do tours and classes and all that stuff to share with what you've learned. And once again, you know, Scott, like me, I'm just learning in life. I'm learning as a gardener. Yeah, I'm learning a lot of stuff because I've done a lot of stuff, and he's been doing this for years and knows more about aquaponics than I do in Las Vegas because I haven't done it here, although one of these days I'll set up and I'll probably give him a call for his expertise. So yeah, so do you give classes, tours, all this kind of stuff?
We're setting up tours in the early spring of next year, 2015. You can contact us through our Coggins Garden Facebook page or Coggins Garden YouTube channel to set up a personal tour, but we will start having classes and organized tours in the early spring of 2014 or 2015. As you see right back here, we just went through the summer and we're getting everything going. I want to have stuff growing so everyone can come back here and see it actually working. I got it. You know, John's here. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and those green beans are going to be eaten, and those are coming out, and then I'm going to put a plastic cover off that, and then we're going to start all the winter crops. So by the time we get back open and get reopened and growing in early 2015, we'll be ready to have all of you come over and visit us.
So Scott, it was amazing that you're able to grow through the summer. Many people think it's not possible to grow in the middle of summer. I mean, I think this last summer got into 110 degrees in Fahrenheit, and I'm able to grow, you know, year-round, summer, winter, whenever. And I want to let you guys know, if you guys live in Las Vegas, it's always growing season in Las Vegas, right? There's never not a time that you cannot grow food in Las Vegas. Although I know some of you guys live in other areas of the country where there are distinct seasons where you could grow, but unfortunately many of the nurseries in town believe that you can't grow in the winter, so they don't sell plant starts and this kind of stuff and make it easy for people to grow. But it is possible, once again, if you set it up properly. You know, if you're doing a soil garden like I do, you gotta have good soil, a good watering system. If you're doing aquaponics, you want to set up something like this because it obviously works, and obviously, you know, some of the covering definitely more important in the winter time to keep things a bit warmer to get better growth. So another thing I want to talk to you about, Scott, today is that I know you have a really amazing idea about, you know, making aquaponics more accessible for people, especially if they don't want to be an expert in aquaponics, but like a storage type facility. You guys, people have extra stuff in their life and they have to like take it to the storage center and they rent a little storage space at the storage center, but you want to have like an aquaponics farm or community garden, and you want to share this concept with my viewers out there, and maybe somebody even out there will do this concept because it sounds like an awesome idea to me.
So it's a pretty simple concept, and well, it seems simple in my mind, but it's a pretty simple concept. You get a piece of property, a half-acre lot, for instance, and you divide it up and you put, you know, 10 by 20 or 20 by 20 spots out here with an aquaponic system on there. It's got a, you know, the raised bed, I mean, a flood and drain type system, a fish tank, and just different types of components of aquaponic system. You put them all out through the property. You have a big system like I have back here that will grow the fish and the vegetables and the starts. And you rent them out to a customer for $100 a month or something, any amount of money as your business plan will allow for. But at the end of the day, I can prove back that you will get your money back at the end of the year. You will grow your fish. You will have, in my mind's eye, this business would have on-staff experts there all the time to help all the customers. Now just imagine the social experiment that would happen there. Just think of, you're growing something, I'm growing something, my neighbors are all growing something. We don't all have the same taste, but we all want to grow the food. Just imagine you can just imagine the social experiment, just what would be grown on a piece of property like that. Something downtown Henderson, you know, Tony Heshley's got his big plan down there. He's got all these people living in small area. They need to have the ability to grow their own fresh food. This can be done in abandoned buildings. This can be done anywhere in the country. The fact of the matter is, it just gives more people access to growing their own food, a protein, and John and I agree a little bit, disagree, but I think fish are protein too, so.
Well, fish are protein, just not as good a protein as vegetables, exactly. And I'm eating lower on the food chain, but it's all good, whatever you want to do. All right, so, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, this could even be done on roofs of buildings, provided the roofs can hold the water weights. I mean, you know, every building should have some aquaponics on top, or use a space minimally to grow some food, because, you know, there are food deserts. I mean, we live in the desert, but in my opinion, Las Vegas is a huge food desert. I mean, not because there are not grocery stores around town, but because people are simply not growing their own food. But, you know, it's not going to be big corporations and companies that are going to change this, because they're not going to start putting farms in Vegas. It doesn't make sense financially for them. But what it does make sense for is each of you guys that are watching this, wherever you live, is to put in a little small garden. It doesn't have to be huge like this. It could be a 4-foot by 4-foot garden. It could be just a little aquaponics setup just to get your feet wet, literally. if it leaks. Hopefully it won't leak. With starting to grow some food to see how it works, and then you could expand and get your system bigger to keep growing more and more of your food. And as time goes on, there will only be inflation. Food will start costing more. Food will start getting scarce, and especially in my opinion, the quality of food will be going down. But if you start growing your own food, you know, once you got your fixed costs covered, like, you know, Scott's built this system here, he's got some fixed costs. Once he's grown enough food to pay for it, he's basically making money. This is like better than making solar panels in your house, man, because we always got to keep eating. You can always turn off some lights to save some power, but we always need to continue to eat some food there. So I want to encourage you guys, just take one little step to start being more self-sustainable, more sufficient, and having your own food security. Scott, any last words you'd like to say to my viewers out there today?
Tomorrow morning, you're all going to get up and go to work for your food. Either you work in your garden in your front yard, or you go get your money from your boss. But at the end of the day, part of your money no matter how you do it, you work for your food every day. And that's just depends on how you want to work for it. I choose to work on it this way. Some of my food can't do it all, but we can do some of it.
Absolutely. And life is not about all or nothing. I just do the best I can. I grow a good portion of my vegetables. I don't grow all my own food yet. One of these days I'll have some acreage and I will be growing all my own food. And likewise, I want to encourage you guys, if you have acreage, you should be growing a bigger portion of your food than I am if you got acreage. And if you got a place like this, I think Scott's doing an amazing job. He's got so many different planting sites in this aquaponics system. I can't wait to come back when he's got this in full tilt, full production. He'll have more greens than him and his family could eat, more than likely. So,
but we can count them.
Yeah. So anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Learn more about aquaponics. Learn about how it works. Learn how you could do it literally with supplies from your local stores in your local area. How you can grow in some of the toughest desert environments, like here in the Las Vegas area. And, motivate you guys to start growing some food today. I want you guys to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll come back out and do some more videos with Scott. He's a great guy. I love spending time with him here today and look forward to visiting him in the future. So yeah, also be sure to click the button down below to subscribe if you're not already, to be notified of future episodes that I will have. And also be sure to check the links below to check out Scott's Facebook and his YouTube channel, where he'll probably hopefully be posting some videos on his garden and his tips on what he's learned, and maybe even some construction tips on those of you guys that want to know how exactly he built that, because I guess kind of just showed you guys an overview. Anyways, once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.